Welcome to episode 32 of the Rebel Army podcast, the official podcast of Cork City Football Club. And this week we chat to an old Cork City legend, Roy O'Donovan. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, joined as always by Aaron. How are you?
Not too bad, Stephen. How are you?
Not too bad. Did you recover after all those celebrations?
Fully recovered, yeah. Fully recovered. Great week, wasn't it?
It was a great weekend. It was brilliant.
Great weekend, I suppose, more than anything.
I suppose Friday night, it was a lovely way to finish the season and doing it in style as well with 6-0.
It's nearly frustrating in a way that it's probably the game that people cared the least about all season because it was all was said and done.
Yeah.
And it was probably our best performance of the season.
Yeah.
Which is...
No, it was brilliant.
But it's good because there was such a big crowd there as well, though, so...
I know it was great to see because, sometimes you're always worried that people will say, the weather isn't great and sure the league is won and,
it's
people
all
make
done,
up excuses, that kind of, but no, everyone was up for it. It was like a party. You know?
Do you know what? The atmosphere as well, I think, I was going to say for 90 minutes, but probably for a good 40 minutes before the game as well. The place was absolutely rocking. So, that was brilliant. It's probably the perfect way to end the season, particularly to end the season with a trophy and a league-winning season. Yeah, unreal. Yeah, and Brad's penalty save as well.
Oh yeah, jeez, I nearly forgot about that. Actually, yeah,
some great goals, some scrappy enough goals, and a brilliant penalty save to sort of cap it.
Cahill with another goal of the season contender. Yeah. He just has his own category.
Did you see the clip of Rory on commentary?
I did. Yeah, it's very good.
Come here, he's ridiculous, but he is though. Do you know what I mean? Like we're running out of things.
Yeah. Although that Shawnee's goal as well, I think maybe got overlooked. That turn he did for the run was one of the best turns I saw all season in any league. He just turned your man inside out and ran. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? It was so good overall that when we talk about the big long wait we have now till the season restarts.
Yeah,
it's probably the perfect cliffhanger to leave it on. To say this is what you'll be missing now for the next couple of months. Hopefully, anyway. So
if it's one of those documentaries on the TV, this.
I know, season finale,
last time on Cork City FC, and you'll have Ryan Reynolds saying in the commentary box with Rory or something.
Rory, there's some we've had some viral commentary clips from Rory this year. To be fair, mostly coming from Cahill O'Sullivan's goals.
Yeah.
But
speaking of videos and stuff, actually, you probably fill me in knowing who the guy is, but I saw a cool video there by a Scottish guy.
Blair.
He's kind of a YouTuber, is he?
Yeah, he's been over a couple of times. Funnily enough, he's done a couple of Cork City games. I think that's the first time he's actually seen us win.
Was that?
He was at the playoff final last year.
He was jinxed up until that point.
I'm trying to think what other games he did. He came to the Cross. The first time he came to the Cross, I think, was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And
yeah,
he put into Google Maps Cork City FC. He was in the city centre, I remember. I'll never forget it. He had up all the tweets when he was inside in Tony's Bistro having proper Cork breakfast. Put in Cork City FC into Google Maps and gets off the 208 bus anyway, out by Red FM, kind of thinking, where the hell am I? You should have brought him to the training ground.
Brought him up to Bishopstown.
And I think, from memory, he ran from Bishopstown to Turner's Cross. Missed kickoff in that game. I don't remember what game it was. But that was his first visit to Turner's Cross.
Could have also ended up in Douglas Village shopping centre.
It could have ended up anywhere, yeah. Anywhere except where he wanted to be. But the video from Friday was class. There was a lot of people there filming it. There's some people in the crowd, had a lot of videos up. But Blair sort of does them as almost like an inside match day documentary type piece. It really showcases kind of, I tweeted about it as well, it just showcases what Turner's Cross is like.
Yeah,
on a big occasion, and it's like that all the time anyway.
I looked on the phone, but I'd imagine a lot will look at that on the TV because I know my own son Cahill, he watches a lot of stuff on YouTube and on his television.
I actually watched it on TV, yeah.
And like that will look better on a television screen,
blown up, yeah.
Because
and it looks brilliant.
And he's talking to a lot of the fans before it, and a couple of the commandos and a couple of young fellas, small kids as well.
Yeah, he gets a lot of people. He gets the crowd involved. He gets people who obviously know him involved, but he just will pull a random fella in the crowd as well and be like, what do you think of that? It's brilliant. And he does it. He's done it. I think he's got Irish family, so he's in Ireland quite a bit. I think they're in Derry. He's done a lot of Derry stuff.
He's done a couple of... Did he do Shamrock Rovers or something as well? I'm sure.
He did the Derby. I think he did the Derby as well, but he got on to me a couple of weeks ago and was kind of saying, I'm going to come over for the last game. Any chance? Because normally, he's in the crowd or he's mixing. And he said, any chance of pitch side access? No problem. That's invaluable content for the club. It's not content for the club, but it's content that massively benefits the club. So
Do you know what? It shows
Yeah.
the authentic experience of being at the Cross, and I think like that's probably, this is with my marketing hat on, obviously, that's the biggest sell. It's that, like, if you come to Turner's Cross, you get an experience that maybe you won't at big games elsewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
You can immerse yourself with the fans very fast.
That's exactly it. You know, people talk about football as a sport now and as a global sport, and you know, everyone has the complaint that it's becoming too commercialized and all this crap. But then in League of Ireland, like, yes, it's a professional sport, it's a professional league, but everything is more, you know, in reach. You know, like, you're close to the players, you're close to the action, you're close to your club. Like in England, you know, there's departments in every club. In League of Ireland, everyone knows who's who working at your club. Yeah. You talk to any of us, the other clubs, you know what I mean? Everything's kind of on a personal level as well. So it's just that bit more authentic here. And I think, again, like Blair's video, there's been a couple of other videos that he's done. Smiv came and did a video a couple of years back for an Athlone game. Two lads from Soccer AM did the one for the Stoke friendly 2 years ago. Like, that kind of stuff, like, it's not content directly for the club, but like, it's free promotion. Do you know what I mean?
That's brilliant.
It's free promotion done to a really high standard that we would have to pay a lot of money for if we wanted someone to come in and do it for us. So, no, it's brilliant. I know the FAI, Matty from the FAI was down as well, filming for the FAI's YouTube channel, sort of like an inside match day thing.
Oh, I saw
some
brilliant
as well.
Yeah.
Like, they do that stuff really well. Matty does it really well. And I know there's people involved in the national teams as well. They've got, like, they do that a lot, and especially for the league as well. I think it's really good promotion, and even better when it's at Turner's Cross and it's for us.
Yeah, but I joked there we'll go about, you know, the 6-0 is a nice, and you were saying that it's kind of nice, kind of end of season, kind of like a cliffhanger going into the new season. But if you ever look at those shows, and I joked about Ryan Reynolds, like, the reason why they got into Wrexham and stuff was because it is that kind of rawness. It's they go into the pub, which is basically like the corner flag, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of similarities,
even
from a small city. You know, actually, Wrexham's a lot smaller than Cork, actually.
But even if you look at like the Wrexham documentary, I know we've spoken about League of Ireland or Cork City documentaries. Like, a football season is kind of a bit like a season of a television show anyway in nature. In the storytelling, it has a start, a middle, and an end, and the story develops over the year.
And there's loads of things happen in between.
And even if there isn't a show here, like, you know, there's no Cork City documentary or Cork City series, but you are kind of living in it as the year goes on, because you have these experiences and the mad stories that happened in a 9 or 10 month period.
And I think if anybody's listening to this and you know someone that sits down and watches, you know, the likes of that Wrexham show on Disney Plus or whatever, and they love those type of shows, you should actually show them something like Blair's video.
100%,
put it on your YouTube and say, this is what actually Turner's Cross is like. And they might actually be willing to come down and experience it themselves next season. Because, you know, that's what it's all about.
And that's kind of, you know, you look at the likes of the Wrexham doc now, and there's other ones. I know that, like, remember shows years ago like Dream Team. I know it was fictional, but you're going about the mad goings on in football.
Yeah.
They're real. Like, you see the stories across the league on any given week. It's mad.
Sunderland Till I Die was another one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's always stories being told. Be it, look, obviously we want all the fans come watch us, but even in the League of Ireland, like, if you're not from Cork and you're listening to this, get involved. Go watch a League of Ireland game. There's 2 weeks of it left of the Premier. Go watch that.
Yeah, and there's plenty of drama in that.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It's down to 4 teams, I think, now, since we were last.
Only 4, imagine. Yeah,
only 4 with 2 games to go. But it's crazy. So no, like, Friday night was brilliant, and it's lovely to capture moments like that on camera, and that can be used as promotional footage for next season as well. Like,
exactly. So. You know, we always talk now about, you know, the old docs on YouTube, like The Last Night of the Shed and The Biscuits, Walton, Bishopstown. This is kind of like a modern spin on that.
Yeah,
it's more regular content because someone can make. In theory, you could have one of these every week, and it's easier to do, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, people will look back on those and say, wasn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's brilliant. Look, it's good. It's kind of annoying now again because, you know, you watch all these, you get all fired up because you want to go again, and you have to wait till February, but
4 months.
It'll be worth it, I'm sure.
It's a long
It's very long.
It's very long. Yeah, but see, the fact that the Prem Division and actually the FAI Cup and all that is for another kind of 2 weeks or such yet. like we're finished early, you know, because
we are.
obviously the playoffs kicked off already, like this week.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of bizarre. Like we have to wait because we won, we're finished, and we have to wait.
We wait longer. Yeah,
we have the longest wait.
I know we've gone about it's 4 months with preseason and stuff and friendlies. Hopefully it'll be.
Yeah.
I don't know, early January. That's not a leak now. That's me just being hopeful, saying I'd love a game to watch in January.
Fingers crossed.
But
Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
look, we'll see. And as I said, hopefully it's all worth the wait.
But the celebrations continued over the weekend because our under 15s won the cup as well.
On Sunday, yeah, that was a big one actually. That was a very entertaining game.
Penalty shootout, yeah.
It was 0-0. Went to extra time. Ben Dummigan scored for City, and then Pats equalised, I think, like right before the final whistle in extra time. And what a goal that was as well. Went to penalties. City won 2-0, 4 penalties each. Pats missed all 4. Well, missed 2 and 2 were saved. But yeah, cracker of a game, cracker of an afternoon, and yeah, it was brilliant for them. That you could see what it meant with the celebrations and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was just
taste of success for them as they move forward, and obviously, you know, 1 or 2 of them will probably be on the fringes of the first team.
Yeah, like
next year.
David's
featured,
already
there, so. But there'll probably be 1 or 2 more. There usually is.
There always is. Yeah,
you know?
And if not for the first team, for the 17s and the 20s, and they'll continue the way up. But it's just another one of those ones that I suppose highlights the work that's being done in the academy by all the management and the overall coaching staff. And
I don't think we should overlook that either. The fact that we do win things at underage, you know, and we're producing so many players, like, you know, it's fantastic. Like, and we said it all season, like, it's fantastic.
You always hear people talking about, you know, the conveyor belt of players coming through. That's what it is. Like, it's literally just like a football factory of.
And it seems to be getting better, if you ask me, over the years.
Yeah,
you know,
we're churning out players. If it's not for our first team, players that are going abroad. Took the last couple of years. Jaden, Matthew Moore, Jake O'Brien is gone. Cathal Heffernan, that's just to name a few.
Alex
Healy-Byrne went to Burnley, I think it was.
Yeah.
Mark as well, as you said.
Joe O'Brien with Marsh.
There's a very long list.
Yeah, there's loads.
And yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
No, that's fantastic. But so before last week's celebration, we managed to get hold of I suppose a City legend. Actually, our most expensive signing of all time. Our signing as someone else bought from us, not our signing.
We got the money. We didn't spend the money. We got the money.
The biggest, I think at the time, it was the record of League of Ireland as well, 500,000 or something like that. But yeah, Ryan O'Donovan came in. We obviously had another episode already recorded. I know, and that was bizarre. We actually put it out
after Friday.
So we're running behind a few. There was a bit of a distraction, I think.
You don't realise how busy and hectic things get when there's league trophies and leagues being won. But so the last one went out after the match that we were previewing.
Yeah.
We had Roy in the can because we've been waiting for him and we've been sitting on this interview with him.
Yeah. But we had to catch him while he was home because he's going back to Australia again.
Yeah, so. I think he's gone back. He's gone and all now, is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we have that anyway. Look, we've already heard it. We were here. It was a very interesting chat. So rather than tease it too much,
let's throw it on. Welcome to the podcast, Roy.
Thanks, Stephen. Nice to be here.
Welcome back to Cork, I suppose, although you've probably been here a few weeks, have you, at this stage?
That's it. I've been here a while and always great to get home.
Always great to get home. Come here. I suppose, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before, but it's kind of like this is your life for Cork City players or people associated with the club. Am I right in saying you kicked off football at Leeds?
Yeah, Leeds was my club, my local team. 8 or 9 years old, playing for Leeds, and I was very fortunate. Played with some great players and fantastic coaches, and spoiled really. We were very successful. I mean, I remember 1 year in schoolboy football, Leeds won everything from under 11s up to under 18s, every Premier Division in Cork. So I was
very strong club back then, weren't they?
Very strong, and just surprisingly, not more people kind of went on to have a career in professional football. You know, that's the.
What would you think caused that?
I don't know. Maybe not enough support. Maybe when things get tough, and not enough of a safety net, because there was certainly a lot of natural talent. And
any fellas stand out?
Oh, but there's a few that went on to play for Cork City. John O'Flynn played for Leeds, but he's from Cove. He played for Leeds for a little bit, but he was obviously a blow-in.
A lot of schoolboys teams did that kind of. They're kind of like buying up the best young fellas around. Yeah,
but like the likes of Kenneth Coleman, who had an association with Cork City for a while,
went down to Rockmount,
and exactly, and he played for Waterford and Cove. He went away. Like Mickey Buckley played for Cork City, and Kevin Murray, who also played for Cork City as well, and plenty of others, to be honest with you. There's lots of connections there. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things. It's maybe there just wasn't the right support networks at the right time.
But I suppose at the same time, even the ones that do break through, even to clubs, very few of them actually go all the way.
Yeah.
Isn't it like I think sometimes footballers can beat themselves up about things and think, oh, maybe I didn't have as successful career as I thought, but actually very few actually make it as a living compared to the amount of people that play.
Yeah, it's 0.0001% or something
which
silly.
Is mad, like,
it
isn't
is
it?
crazy, and there's certainly a big difference between schoolboy football and men's football. I think that can be the big change when people kind of get into kind of 16, 17, 18. It becomes more physical, it becomes more competitive, and it certainly, as you move up the ranks, becomes more cutthroat. And football is a great game, and it's a very enjoyable game, but it's cutthroat if you have to earn your keep, and you have to really show that you're worth being at someone's club and in the team, especially in the professional environment, because there's lots of people in that early statistic there that are chomping at the bit to take your place.
So in around 2001, Coventry came in for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were they a Championship or Premier Division team?
They would have been a Premier League team at the time, and obviously I was a pretty good schoolboy player. I went over to lots of different clubs on trial, and Coventry, the ones that kind of put their, I suppose, stuck their neck out and said, we'd love to sign you, and gave me YTS forms with a view to a pro contract when I turned 17. But it was great learning, very difficult. I left home at 15. Very challenging when you think,
very young.
It's very young.
You're probably thinking your own kids know, like,
definitely.
If they went abroad, like,
Well, I know better now. But obviously, football was all I knew, all I wanted to do.
Yeah,
and I'm very stubborn now, and I was very stubborn then, and I wanted to go. And my parents, they kind of gave me their blessing, but they were umming and ahhing about it for a while. Obviously I had to leave school in fourth year and went away to become a professional footballer.
What school were you in at the time?
I was in St. Aidan's.
In Dublin Hill,
in Dublin Hill, which again, a lot of talent there. We had some great times as well at that school. But just leaving school, leaving your friends, leaving the comfort of your family to go and play football, as I said, in a very ruthless environment was a big learning curve. But I suppose through the good and the bad, it's something that has stuck to me right up to now.
So you stayed with them. Did you ever break through to the first team in that period?
Not in that period, no. It was one of them things. I was a small 15-year-old, quick, nimble, not a bad goal scorer, but physically I wasn't ready for the men's game at 18. Really, and they made that decision that you're not going to play in our first team. If you want to go, you can go, kind of thing.
And what happens? Do they kind of call you aside at the end of a season and say, look, there's no contract?
There was actually 10 of my team, and they were mostly Irish lads like Rory Higgins and Stephen Rice, who people in
League of Ireland circles would know,
were very familiar with. They had the same meetings, and basically it was a little bit of a financial thing, but also a little bit of a thing where it wasn't going to happen for us in the next year or two. They wanted to move on to the next in line, and I think it was Gary McAllister was the manager at the time, and him and a couple of the youth staff, and they just went through the meetings like we get 90 seconds each, and it was queuing up outside waiting for detention kind of thing. But it didn't kind of bother me too much, to be honest with you, at that point. As much as I was,
were you deflated? Like,
I wouldn't say I was deflated. I was disappointed because I even at that time I felt I had plenty to offer. But it was one of these things. I use it as fuel. I use it as I'll show you kind of thing.
I'll be back kind of a thing. Yeah.
I think Cork City benefited, and I benefited from that. But Cork City benefited because when I came back to Cork City then, I was hungry. I had a point to prove, and it kind of gave me a kick start and kind of a kick up the backside that I probably needed at that moment in time.
And like, going to that move with City, did you approach them, or did they kind of come to you? Like, how did that come about? Like,
it was like there was another. When I left Coventry, then there was a guy in Dublin called Paddy Waters, who was a friend of an ex-teammate of mine, and he was like a scout for Pat Dolan in Dublin when Pat Dolan was involved with St. Pat's. But he gave him my contact, and he said, "Look, this fella's moving back to Cork. Give him a call." And he gave me a pretty decent recommendation, and Pat rang me, I think it was in around Christmas time, and he told me, would you come out and train with us? saw me the dream, as Pat Dolan does.
Yeah, he's a great man for that. We only had him on the live show recently.
He's brilliant. He's a great personality. But, he himself at that time, himself and Brian Lennox did on some great things to really revive and recharge the feeling around Cork City and League of Ireland at that time. And he did the same to me. He gave me the spiel, and I came out training, and there was a terrific squad there at the time. The likes of Georgie and Gamble and Flinney and Neil Fenn, and
great attacking team, wasn't there?
Great attack, and even the likes of Collie O'Brien and Derek Collin and Billy Woods. I would have watched them as a Cork City supporter growing up.
So would you have gone to the Cross?
Yeah. I used to go up with my dad and sit, before it was what it was now. I used to sit in the wall on the Derrynane side when there was no seats there, and watch Dave Hill and Decky Daly cause some havoc at the back there, and the likes of Ollie Cahill was a big idol of mine at that time.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah.
And then you had Pat Morley had that little bit of quality. Caulfield was always good for a goal, and I've got very fond memories of watching City. Yeah.
So that must have been like brilliant stuff for you, like especially with the likes of Derek Collin, who you would probably remember scored the win on the cup final, and then to go and start training with them, saying there was a light at the end of the tunnel after the Coventry kind of thing. Like,
it was brilliant. It was brilliant because Cork City, it was my club, and as much as you said, leaving England and this dream of being playing in the Premier League or playing for Coventry, whatever it was at that time, Cork City was brilliant. Cork City, in my mind, big club, great opportunity, and
competing too.
And competing, and the training was terrific. And I remember that pre-season, I really had to get my fitness up into gear because Pat Dolan really worked you hard. We went down to Limerick University there, and they were putting us through some tests that I think I nearly lost the contract. I failed some of the fitness tests so badly, but definitely got me up to speed. And and then I suppose a week up before the season, himself and Brian Lennox kind of fell out, and
that was mad.
Then it was Damien came in lastminute.com. I hadn't signed yet. And Damien,
you had no contract.
I had no contract.
So you were just training with them.
So Pat Dolan asked me to sign, but it went quiet then because obviously he was on the verge of getting the tic tac, and then I think Damien basically trusted Jerry Harris and Liam Murphy and asked their opinion, and I think one of his main things was I quick?
Yeah,
and they said I was, and he's a good pro and a good lad, and the rest was history for me with Cork City, and it was such an important time in my career, and one I look back with so much fondness.
So you were in there at the Kevin Doyle was still there. So when you joined, and so even trying to break into that team with the amount of attacking options there was actually quite difficult, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it was difficult. You had like Liam Carney as well on one wing, and Billy Woods was playing on the right wing the year before, and Doyle had moved up front with John O'Flynn, and Georgie was a big star around time. Fenny, there was lots, and so I had to be adaptable, and because I was quick, Damien gave me a shot in the wing, on the right wing, and I kind of, within that first season, after I wasn't in the team at the start. Myself and Shane Long, I remember first few games we'd come on for a couple of minutes here and there, but by I suppose by the first 7 or 8 weeks into the season, I had made the right wing spot my own, and it was
what a season.
It was great. We obviously won the league, but just looking back now, we had some real characters, great football players, but real characters you just don't get anymore. I mean, nowadays I think football has gone very cookie cutter. Nobody says or does anything different, but we had a team full of guys that weren't afraid to do or say anything. I'm talking about the likes of Georgie and Mick Devine and even Danny Murphy now. These guys, different breed, you know what I mean? But terrific football players, but they had more than that, you know what I mean?
But actually, even Pat Dolan was talking about that, they were a permanent fixture even inside in the likes of the VIP room and the likes of Havana's and stuff, but people knew them in town. Yeah. And, they were around the same time as the Munster Rugby lads, they were kind of put on a pedestal, and it was interesting, and the media covered them because they were probably interesting people. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it was a little bit of a golden age of League of Ireland as well. Likes of Shelburne, very strong, like Wes Houlihan and Pat Fenlon and that team they had. Yeah, Crow and Jason Byrne being the main stars they had. Derry were competitive. Stephen Kenny being their manager. Yeah, Cork City, Pat Dolan, big character, had lost his job. Damien, another big and divisive character, has come in. Yeah, there was plenty to talk about, but I think in fairness, I think the League of Ireland is having that little bit of resurgence again. Since I've been home the last while. You turn on RTE, you turn on Virgin. There's a League of Ireland game on every weekend, and the quality is good. The stands are full.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Cork City next year are going to come back and give a good account of themselves. They may not come back and win the league next year, but just be competitive and be there or thereabouts, you know?
When you go back to that 2005 season, like, what's the moments that stand out?
Making my debut. Making my debut was very special. I think myself and Shane Long came on 5 minutes to go against UCD. Round 2, Turner's Cross. People weren't happy. Pat had lost his job and they wanted Rico out at that point. And it was 0-0, 5 to go against UCD. Sounds even disgusting talking about it now. And it finished 0-0. So, yeah, it didn't start off the greatest, but it was a special moment for me because my first team debut. Scoring against Shelburne when we won 2-0. I think that was a big deal for us in going on to win the league that year because Shelburne had been all conquering the previous few seasons. They had all the stars of League of Ireland. They had a bit of bravado as well about them, you know. So that was a big one. We beat them 2-0 up there, and it kind of put a marker down that we're not going to mess around anymore, you know. That was a big statement. So to be involved in that and scoring the game was terrific, and obviously to finish it off that season to win the league was
it's like a fairy tale, really.
It was outstanding. And then you sprinkle in some of the European games. You know, we beat, I think that year, Your Gardens in Sweden.
That's right, yeah.
I forget now where we played. We ended up getting beat in the end against Slavia Prague, but just terrific, you know, terrific nights and times at that period.
And obviously the last night of the original shed and winning the league, you know, you couldn't pick a better night to do it, like, really, could you?
It was unbelievable. Against Derry, we had to get a win. A draw would have done them.
Yeah. Stadium
is rocking. You know, I'll never forget it. I think there was more in the ground that night, even when it wasn't an all-seater, than there could get in there now, which is crazy. But it was absolutely bouncing.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, it was special, and it's one we all, when we all do get together, which is rare, but when we all do get together, it's certainly something that sticks in our minds, and it's something, a conversation started for sure.
They nearly have to organise a 20th anniversary next year. It's hard to believe next year's 20 years.
It's mad, isn't it?
You know,
I've got a few grey hairs. I think if this was on the TV, you know, you'd believe it.
You were young at the time, though. To be fair,
I was young, exactly. But 20 years, it does go quickly. Yeah.
I'd imagine it was there was nearly a hangover after winning the league. Like, to lose the cup final that year was probably a bit disappointing. They could have easily won the double, like.
Yes, we probably should have done. I know people have said that we went on the piss for a couple of weeks after, which is partially true. I think it was a blustery day up in Lansdowne Road that day against Drogheda. We had a couple, me being one, a couple of players suspended. That didn't help. Just the dynamic of the way we played with real width. I think it because I wasn't playing on the right hand side. A lot of our pace was going to come down the left hand side with Danny and Carney. I think that impacted how Drogheda played, and Paul Doolin as well, who was their manager. I thought he was a very shrewd operator. He was quite happy to kind of nullify Cork City to nick a goal on the break, and it worked for them that day. And then the following year again, you talk about a hangover. We lost a couple of players. You know, we lost Greg O'Halloran and Liam Carney. Georgie left early doors as well. So, you know, we didn't help ourselves either, which is a history of Cork football. We tend to shoot ourselves in the foot when times are good, you know.
Yeah, but you did have a great run in Europe that year, didn't you? Like, to beat the Cypriots and, you know, like that must have been like fantastic in the Champions League to hear the music and all that kind of stuff as well.
It was great, yeah. Yeah, it was. It made all the hard work the previous year. It was a great reward for that. To hear, as you said, hear the Champions League music, have full stadiums, you know, pretty much, you know, every second week at Turner's Cross.
Yeah.
And I suppose that I think that'll be the frustration for a lot of us. We didn't back up in the league to win again, but as you said, the European nights were special, and I remember scoring a couple of goals along the way as well there that it's fantastic, really, when I think back on it now, you know. It's
you really kicked off in the second season nearly even more, like,
you
started banging in the goals kind of left, right and centre, like.
Yeah. Well, I got pushed up front then as well. Doyle leaving, Georgie leaving, Flinney got injured.
You became a focal man.
They needed a different dynamic up forward. I think Dennis Bean and Neil Fenn at the time, Damien was trying that out. It just didn't work, the two of them together.
Yeah.
Damien was a real one for. I think he was very modern in the way he thought about, you know, attacking football, but he was old school in the way that he always thought like you should have either a big man and a little man up front, or kind of have someone that had pace to get in behind, which I had in abundance at that time as well. So Neil Fenn and myself hit it off really well, and he was still to this day one of the best kind of co-strikers I've ever played with. Just
fantastic ball player, one day. Yeah,
brilliant touch. He'd tell you himself he could trap a falling star. That's his words. But he was very good. What he made up for, I suppose, what he lacked in speed, he made up for in his head. He was such a clever player, such a great first touch, and very unselfish strike partner as well. He was always looking for my movement, looking for my run, and was willing to play it. You'd be surprised as you go along. Not everybody is as unselfish as that, you know. So he was like my Bergkamp as such. He was just very clever, great to play with. But there was, I was, as I said, blessed. Not just him. We were blessed with a great team. You know, you go right through it. As I said, talking about characters, but Dan Murray and Benno at the back, we had a solid foundation. Joe Gamble, Colin Healy. Geez, you know, Irish internationals in midfield. So we were blessed with what a great team we had at that period.
And then, like, you got to the Satanta Cup final last year.
Yeah.
You lost to Drogheda again, didn't you?
We did, but again, that was a different story to the cup final. We actually outplayed them, battered them on the day, and just for whatever reason, we just didn't get the job done up in Tolka Park, from memory. But that was one of those we left behind us, definitely.
Yeah.
But again, you know, winning leagues, losing cup finals, good European runs. Had a bit of everything in the cup the few years I was there, and
mainly had the crowds, I say, as well. Like
crowd, and that's
people love the football.
It was fantastic. And you know, we love our football here. This is the thing, and I'm just so happy when I'm home now to see the League of Ireland getting some credibility, getting some airtime, because you know it's a great level of football. It's attacking football. Teams that want to, you know, pit their wits against each other, and you know, sometimes, you know, the Premier League can get a bit sterile sometimes. I think in League of Ireland it still has that bit of honesty about it, and as I said, people are buying into it. There's full stadiums, and as I said, when we played back in our time, we were lucky to kind of feel the goodness of that as well.
And speaking of the Premier League, so then comes into 2007. Did you have a feeling that Sunderland were looking at you? Or was there a couple of clubs looking at you? You were obviously one of the top scorers in the league and stuff like that. And
yeah, well, I suppose the fact that I went up forward and I was still only 20, 21, and scoring goals, that draws attention. You know,
always has for Cork City players over the years.
Well, that's it. Yeah. And everybody wants a goal scorer. Everybody wants, you know, and then there was plenty of interest, and Cork City, in fairness, had said no quite a few times. But I think it got to July, August when I had 20 goals that season, and my contract was running out in November. So they either had to lose me for free, or they had to sell me. So I think they had organised a deal with Fulham, and then Sunderland kind of came out of, I won't say out of nowhere, because the Irish connections there with Roy Keane and Niall Quinn. But Sunderland came in, made an offer that I found better for me. Yeah, I just liked the idea of the Irish connection there.
And did Roy talk to you at the time?
Yeah. They were actually just happened to be playing Cork City as well in a friendly that week.
That's right, they were playing in Cork at the time, yeah.
So I met him in Jory's that time, and you know, once he was my idol growing up, and being from Cork in a similar area as well, I felt, you know, we had a lot of things in common. And he said, look, come over, I'll look after you. You obviously showed some promise here at Cork City. And he was good to his word. I don't regret signing for Sunderland one bit. It was a fantastic club to get to play in the Premier League.
And that was his first season in the Premier League.
Yeah,
they were after getting promoted.
Yeah, exactly. So it was their first year back in the Premier League, which is a big thing for a club like Sunderland that can come across to, you know, and the outsiders as maybe being one of the smaller clubs. But when you get there, and you see, it's a big club, and they get 40,000 people regardless of what division they're in at the games. It's it was a big deal, and football is the be all and end all up in the northeast, believe me. But no, Roy was great, Niall Quinn was great, and there was a good Irish connection there as well, which made me feel comfortable as well. And I got plenty of game time. Probably frustration would be I didn't get to play. I didn't get a run of games as a striker. I think, you know, that
Where did he play, yeah?
I played a lot in the right wing as well, which, again, I felt I gave a good account of myself. And as the season went on, I got more. I felt I was finding my feet, definitely. But I enjoyed it. I would have played on goal, to be honest with you. So it's one of those things.
But am I right? I could be wrong in this, but I think you're still the record transfer fee from Cork City to another club. As
Yeah.
far as I know, you were like, was it $500,000?
Something like that, yeah. And I think they would have got more, but the fact that my contract was running out, my contract was running out in November. They saw me in August. So if you think about it that way, they've done pretty well for a few months left of the deal.
Very well.
I think since then, is it Gavin Bazzano went to Man City or Southampton?
He's the League of Ireland record.
So I think that overtook my one, but
just the Cork City record.
Yeah, but
for now, there's one or two.
Well, I hope so. I hope that's what records are for people to break it. So.
But that Sunderland team, there were like a lot of good players on that side. Like, I mean, it was a decent side that they got promoted that year.
Decent side, yeah. Look, a lot of Irish internationals and a lot of ex-Man United guys that obviously the connection with Roy as well. So the likes of Dwight York and Andy Cole were there at the time.
Were they both there?
They were both there at the same time. And obviously Dwight York had changed his game slightly to be more of a midfielder. He had lost that maybe sharpness of pace that maybe he once had, but still clever enough to play in the midfield. Andy Cole, similar, was kind of on the later side of 30 as well, probably mid-30s at the time. And what
was it like for you then as a young player coming in to play with guys that had won a treble or whatever, a Champions League?
Absolutely. And just to watch them train and just train with them and just see what they do and there's, what I found is there's no rocket science to it. It's hard work and it's consistency, and they rocked up every day to train and they done the right things 99% of the time, whether it's how they ate, how they lived, and definitely how they trained, and they done it the right way. And yeah, look, as I said, it was some great players to play with. And the likes of then going on the other scale of things, the Irish internationals, you had the likes of Graham Kavanagh and Ian Hart and Darryl Murphy and these lads, which were terrific. And then we had the likes of Jordan Henderson, who was coming through from the youths as well. So it was a bit of everything. And, it's one of these clubs, it still has to sell. You know what I mean? It's to keep the lights on, and it needs to stay in the Premier League, which they did. We did that year, and they did for, I think, maybe 8-9 years after. Yeah. And maybe they appreciate the Premier League a lot more now if they do get back up there in the next year or two,
So you went out on loan then after the first season. Was Roy still there? Or?
Roy was still there when I went on loan, So Roy said, look, go and get some football, and I had a couple of offers to go to. I think it was Leeds and Forest and Dundee United. And he kind of said, look, Dundee United have been ringing all summer. I'd like you to play every single week, which you're not going to do here. Get a run of games and come back to me ready to play. And when I was away on loan, Roy lost his job. So you're coming back then to a club who have a new manager, who has new players he wants to sign and has a new style of play, which was Steve Bruce. And I didn't fit the bill when I came back after my loan. I went to Dundee for a spell, and I went to Blackpool in the Championship at the time, which I enjoyed. Again, I played in the right wing, but I loved it. But when I came back to Sunderland the following year, I wasn't in the picture, So
that can be hard, I'd say, when managers change it, especially if you're not in the club when it happens.
Correct, yeah, it's frustrating.
You're like an outsider.
Yeah, you definitely do, and you come back, you kind of feel like you're starting all again, you know. And it's one of these things. It's a bit of luck involved too, It's not all about talent and being brilliant. Sometimes it's a bit of good fortune that a manager likes you, the timing of a manager being there, and the club being successful. There's a lot of things that goes into it, but I've had my share of very good fortune as well, and managers liking me and staying at clubs for the long period. So that was just that was a frustrating period for me, but it wasn't the be all end all. It wasn't the worst case scenario,
Did you get any call up then to the Irish squads or anything like that at that stage where you were playing for Sunderland?
When I was in the Sunderland team, I got called up for a couple of squads. I think it was against Serbia and Colombia. I'm thinking when Trapattoni just got the job, So So and obviously there was, prior to that, when I played for Cork City, I'd been capped for the B team.
The B team, which was strong back then.
With Steve Staunton as well. So so again, it's one of those things. Again, it was just everything happens for a reason. As I said, under Roy, I was getting game time. I was all kind of building in the right direction, and a new manager comes in. I just felt I kind of had to start again. So it was one of those, and I moved on, and I kind of, after a couple of loans, it kind of took me a while to find my feet, but I had a really good loan though, again, how things work out. I had a really good loan at Hartlepool at the time in League One, and Joe Gamble had just signed.
That's right, because of the collapse of the club here.
That's right.
Joe Gamble and Miss Dennis being there as well.
And Leon McSweeney. So
that's right, Leon. Yeah.
So when I went on loan there, you're going on loan somewhere, and there's obviously half the dressing room is thinking you want to take their place.
Yeah.
Half of them feel like they need a lift, so you kind of really have to hit the ground running. But the fact that I went in and 3 of my buddies were there already, it was terrific straight away. And
you probably felt at home there.
I felt at home there. They wanted to play me as a striker. I scored goals, and at the time, I think Jeff Stelling on the Soccer Saturday was a Hartlepool fan.
Oh, that's right.
Every time I scored a goal, I was getting more credibility for scoring for Hartlepool than I ever was for getting Premier League appearance for Sunderland. So that just goes to show.
And sure, all the games were always Saturday afternoon, I'd imagine. So it'd be Soccer Saturday.
Yeah. So, but no, again, Leon was there, and Dennis and Joe. It just made it comfortable. It made it a home from home, and we had a great time there as well. Yeah.
So when your contract expired then with Sunderland, you kind of ended up back where you started. You end up back in Coventry.
Yeah.
That's kind of mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was when that kind of came about. I was on and on about it because I'd been there before, and I was wondering had there been much change and a bit of a stigma. But at the same time, I also wanted to kind of go back there and play in the first team. That was my...
And prove your point from what you said earlier. I'll be back.
Kind of thing. That was my initial thing, So, Eddie Boothroyd signed me there, and Eddie was great. I enjoyed working for Eddie. Again, one of those things, he talk about luck and timing. He lost his job early into his reign as well. Yeah. And the next guy came in and wasn't, he wanted to do his own thing as well. But again, to go and play in the first team at Coventry, which was my goal. I played and scored and this and that. It was terrific. But great club. Again, probably, not as, I always think if the right manager at the right time, you're just going to get a lot more game time to show what you're all about, AD losing his job early on kind of definitely had an impact on me. But again, great club, and I did have some good times, made some of my best friends there, when I played there. So, yeah.
And then you kind of had to move around. You had to spell with Hibs then. Was a friend of his up there?
Yeah, I went up there for a few months, and we got to a Scottish Cup final, and I scored a few goals up there. And then the roundabout thing, Mark Robbins got the job then at Coventry when I got called back, and he was giving me a bit of game time, to be fair, but it kind of came to the middle of the season, and I must say I was enjoying working for him. But at that time, I think there was an opportunity for me to go to play for Northampton, and Eddie Boothroyd was there as well, who I knew liked me, and I knew I was going to start every game. Yeah. I just felt that was the right move, and when I went to Northampton with Eddie, it kind of was like a full circle from going to Coventry, and it was great. Playing up front with Beast Mode, Akinfenwa for a while, and Clive Platt, who was at Coventry with me as well, and we got to a playoff final. So a bit of success. So I'm glad I made that move. Obviously, I was frustrated to leave Coventry, but that's football. Sometimes you have to move around more than you would like. Sometimes, I suppose if I have any regrets, sometimes, especially at Coventry, I tried to play injured. Too many times, a couple of times that I kind of tried to play through things, and it kind of had an impact on me. I wasn't playing at my best, and I was kind of getting kind of scapegoated for that. You're kind of, as I said to you earlier on, they're expecting you to be at 100%, and there's no excuses kind of thing. And I sometimes I felt I should have taken a week or two out of the team to kind of give myself a break, but live and learn, right?
And what was it like to play in Wembley for the playoff final?
Yeah, it was good. Oh, look, it's always better to play anywhere when you win. That was But it was terrific to play at Wembley.
Full house, I'd imagine, even for a playoff.
There was a big crowd. It was a big day for Northampton and Bradford. It was a good day. A good day out. It was a good occasion. And it was one of those things. We just left the game behind. We conceded 2 early goals and left the game behind it. But it was terrific, really big pitch.
Yeah, it always looks that way on the pitch.
Immaculate. The dressing rooms are like what you would see in American football. Your own big locker and loads of space and warm up areas and all that. So in that regard, it was brilliant. But obviously, winning games is what it's all about, But no, look, as I said to you, AD, I think it was very hardly done by a Coventry. So to get to a playoff final with him at Northampton was terrific.
So when did you actually leave the kind of the game in England then, and you went to Brunei or somewhere like that? Was that around 2012 or something like that, was it?
Yeah, 13 maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I again, AD then lost his job the following year. We didn't win the playoffs the following year. We'd had a bit of patchy time, and the ownership, I think the new ownership decided it was time for a change. And coming back to injuries, I ended up I had to go for surgery that year because I was trying to labour on with injuries again.
Yeah.
And when I came back, AD had lost his job. So anyway, in the meantime, George O'Callaghan had decided he was wanted to become Ari Gold and become a super agent. And he called me up and he said, look, a club I used to play for here, DPMM in Brunei, and they're owned by the Sultan or the Crown Prince of Brunei. And I said, look, that's great, but I kind of don't really want to go anywhere. And I was, as I said, I recovering from an injury. I was sitting pretty much in my hospital bed, but he was persistent, which George tends to be. And in the end, you know, after a couple of weeks of persuasion, I decided, you know what, give it a chance. Go there, get fit. It was kind of the season as well, ran kind of in the summer, the off season, say, for English football. So I said, go there, get my body fit again, come back firing. But, you know, when I went away and left England and started playing and enjoying it again, the connection, Joe Gamble, he was after getting Joe Gamble over there as well. We were comfortable. It was a good standard. Got to see a bit of the world as well. And
we're all the games played there, obviously.
So we played the home games in Brunei and we played the away games in Singapore.
Okay.
So, and then if there was an international, because basically the team we played on was the Brunei international team. When there was an international break, Steve Keane, who he was a manager of Blackburn at one time, people might know.
That's right, yeah.
He would give us kind of the week off and we'd go and explore Asia and go to wherever, Malaysia, and you know, we had a few trips. Myself and the wife at the time, no kids, so we got to explore the place.
I presume the pay was good, and that's why you enticed you over, right?
Well, that's it, and just to see a bit of the world as well. And then it came to the end of the season, and George was saying, "Right, are you ready for a move now?" kind of thing. And I was kind of, you know what, I kind of like being over this side. I kind of wouldn't mind trying something else. And Australia and America had always appealed to me.
Yeah.
You know, after a while, the Australian thing kind of came up in a serious way to go to Central Coast Mariners, and
did they approach you?
Yeah, there was a friend, a guy I played with at Northampton, a former goalkeeper, was Australian.
Okay,
and he was his agent, was wanting to know could he speak to me, and because I had a good season in Asia as well, and I was fit, I was firing, so I got a chance to go to Central Coast Mariners, and do you know what? I never looked back at Australia for a place to raise your family, and the football was good, and you know, the stadiums were good. It felt like somewhere in between the big time in the Premier League and the enjoyment I had at Cork City, which just suited me as well. It was competitive, you know.
Yeah, so like a lot of the listeners to this know, we might have people from Australia listening as well, but like, and even Cork people out in Australia, like a lot of people in Cork wouldn't associate Australia with soccer or football.
Yeah.
But it is a big league, like, isn't it?
It is, and it certainly when I went there, it was on the crest of a really big wave. Del Piero and Emil Heskey and Shinji Ono had been there the year before.
Yeah. They were starting to bring players from in, like what the MLS do,
correct, marquee players, and spending some serious money. And they, Rupert Murdoch, who owns Sky Sports, also owns Fox Media over there. Fox with a big sponsor. Every game was live on the TV as well.
Okay.
So that brought a level of credibility to it. Level of, you know, I suppose people can watch it. It's in your front rooms every single week, and the stadiums were full on the back of that, you know. And it's since COVID, it kind of like when I was playing there was great, but COVID kind of had an effect on crowds, had an effect on finances to bring in the marquee players, or bring in, you know, a competitive squad. But it's looking like this year it's going to be really competitive in the A-League. Obviously, I'm retired now. I won't be playing in it. I'll be commentating on it. But Juan Mata is signed for Western Sydney Wanderers.
Whoa.
Douglas Costa, who has 40 caps for Brazil, played for Bayern Munich and Juventus. He's just signed for Sydney FC, along with a host of other Japanese and kind of Eastern European imports as well. So the league will be very competitive and strong this year, and I'm excited to go back and watch it. I really, since I've been there, really bought into it, you know.
But you obviously became a bit of a household name, so you obviously you took to it really, really fast, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, I suppose playing in Asia for a year prior to going there helped me, because Australia, sunshine, warm, very hot.
Yeah.
Me, pale Irish man, not used to playing it, but the year in Brunei, playing that kind of level of humidity kind of gave me a little bit of a kind of a starter kind of, you know, it got me used to that kind of environment. And when I went into Australia, it wasn't so much of a shock. I was able to adapt pretty quickly. And as I said, it's a good league. It was competitive. I felt like it was kind of, there was something about it that kind of appealed to me. And as I said, I luckily enough, I scored some goals when I went in there early, not appeased myself to the supporters. And I ended up playing in the A-League for, I think, 6 years. I want to say 6 years, yeah. And
you moved club once or twice, did you?
I did. I played for Central Coast Mariners, as I said, initially. Then I transferred to their biggest rivals, Newcastle Jets, which is a no-go zone. I got in the,
so obviously they disowned you straight away.
They disowned me straight away. They were putting banners up with me on a snake's head, and I'm still a snake down those parts. Even when I go back now as a commentator, doing the sideline reporting or doing whatever, I'm still getting a bit of stick for that. So I went to Newcastle. I played for Brisbane Roar for a spell. Robbie Fowler became the manager. He brought me there for a while, and then I went back to Newcastle, who I'd been with previously, and played my last year and a half there. And I live there now. That's where I set up home. That's home, you know. So yeah.
And then you got into the TV business.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bit of TV now for Paramount Plus and Network 10 in Australia, who cover all the games now. They're the new streaming service. So I enjoy it. I enjoy watching football anyway, giving my opinion on football, and genuinely there's some good quality coming through. There's some good foreigners coming in. So my job is quite easy at the moment. I do enjoy it.
Is there any Irish lads out there?
Well, Jay O'Shea, he used to play for Bray Wanderers in Galway when I played in the league. Yeah. He's a very good player. Another one I think should have been capped a long time ago for Ireland. He's one of the top players in the league now for playing for Brisbane Roar. He's their captain. Terrific player, very clever player, very good on the ball, midfield player.
Maybe Heimer needs to have a look at him, does he?
What's that?
Heimer, the new Irish manager.
Well, he'd do a lot worse, I tell you that much. But terrific player, and he's been over there a few years now. Previously in England, he played for Birmingham, Middlesbrough, and Chesterfield were a few of his clubs. But he's playing. Andy Keogh was playing there for a while. He played for Wolves and Ireland. He retired a few years ago. But yeah, look, there's plenty of household names have come over from England, and it hasn't worked for them.
Yeah,
you know, the likes of Daniel Sturridge and guys that come in and
didn't work.
William Gallas, they came in and it didn't happen. You know, but then there's been guys that have come in, like I've said, Heskey and Del Piero and Fowler. They've come in and done great. So you know, it's like anything in football. You know, just because you were a good player at one place doesn't mean if you don't, you know, apply yourself, you're going to be a great player somewhere else. You have to come in and treat it like a competitive league, because it's, you know, there's a lot of, in the World Cup going back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago when it was in Qatar, most of the squad, the Australian national team squad, was from the A-League. You know what I mean? So it's a competitive market. Yeah. You know?
And like they say that it's actually having a big impact on the likes of rugby and stuff, because obviously in the Rugby World Cup the Australian team were quite poor. Right. But this is because football is kind of overtaken nearly in many ways with the younger people, isn't it?
It's the most participated sport in Australia, There's still a bit of, I don't know, is it similar to the GA mentality, as in like, you know, it's
Aussie rules and all that still would be.
Exactly. So AFL and NRL, which is rugby league, would be seen as their games, you know. But so it's amazing. Like, it's the most participated game from schoolboy up to kind of 16, 17s, and then there's a serious drop off. So you know, but AFL and rugby league are still huge, as in like commercial successes over there, you know. So, but as I said, football isn't far behind. Definitely, it's definitely a burgeoning, growing sport over there. But similar to America, something you would never have put, you know, football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, with Australia and America. But you know, people come in and commercialize it and make it a proper competitive marketplace, and that's certainly happening in Australia.
So will you stay out there?
Yeah, that's the plan for now, definitely. I must say, when I come home, it's nice to be home. It's nice to see everyone and see family. That's what you miss when you're away. But I suppose never say never. But look, I've got 3 young kids.
And that's their life, I'd imagine.
Exactly. You know, they like going to the beach. They like the sunshine. They like their mates at school. So for me to do anything, you know, drastic within football or within the media, it was going to take a lot. But you know, it's one of these things. You never say never. That's the kind of the industry I'm in with football. You never know.
And you said you've been to the Cross a few times. I met you actually in the Cross a few weeks ago. What are you thinking of the standard of football?
Great. Like, obviously, the first division is nowhere near where they should be at. Cork City is a club that should be always in the Premier Division, and I hope that's the last kind of taste we have of that.
Hopefully, yeah.
But look, I certainly think Shawnee Maguire and Rory Keating coming back gives a little bit of, X factor to the team.
Yeah.
Bolger, a bit of experience in there. Cian Coleman, good local quality. There's some good things within the spine of the team, definitely. They probably need to make 2 or 3 really good additions in the off season.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's not about winning the League of Ireland Premier next year. It's about just surviving and being in the middle of the road somewhere and just building it again. This boomer bust cycle doesn't work for Cork City. We need to be up there. When I see Bows and Shamrock Rovers having a full stadium on the TV on Friday night, I want that to be Cork City. That's where they should be,
And it should be too. Like, when you think back over your career, right, then, who would you say was, first of all, who was the best player that you ever played with?
That's a good question.
Across all the different.
Yeah.
Who's the fella that stands out, like?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, as I said a while ago, the likes of Andy Cole and Dwight York and these guys were great, but they probably were
past their best.
Past their prime, exactly. And then Jordan Henderson was probably before his prime. Do you know who was really impressed me was when he came into Sunderland was Bolo Zenden.
Oh, yeah.
Played for Holland and he played for Chelsea.
Right.
And, terrific player. And even he was, at the time, in his mid-30s, an unbelievably grounded guy, unbelievable, great pro, worked hard every day. Whether he was in the starting lineup or on the bench, never changed how he was as a person. I thought he was outstanding. And then there was some great strikers. Jibril Cisse came in for a year when I was there. Darren Bent was really prolific when he was at Sunderland those couple of years before he went to Villa. They were great players to play with. Luis Garcia, when I was playing for Central Coast Mariners.
Came at you that time,
he came over, yeah. So I've been fortunate to play with great and played against some of the greatest players. But the beauty of football, it doesn't matter whether I was playing out in the street, Heads and Volleys, me buddies, or playing the Premier League. I still love it either way,
And who's of the defenders you faced over the years? Who were the ones that you said, this
was tough?
Couldn't get past them, like.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, I suppose Rio Ferdinand and John Terry would have been challenging. Yeah, they were definitely hard opponents. There was a couple in the A League as well. There was a French guy played for Melbourne Victory called Mathieu Delpierre, was a very good player. But yeah, again, there's been loads and loads of good players. I couldn't think off the top of my head, but definitely, John Terry, Vidic and Rio Ferdinand, they stand out as being really tough opponents.
Do you miss playing?
I'm only just recently retired.
Yeah. Was it hard, like, to pack it in?
Not really. Look, it was one of them things. I'm 39. I've got 3 young kids.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of travelling for football, doing a lot of travelling for the media as well. I've got a coaching academy with a few ex-pros over there that we've got nearly 200 kids. So I've got a lot going on. So I needed to kind of make sure.
Yeah.
So I'll still have a kick around next year, probably play locally in Newcastle where I live. So I'll still have a kick around, but it's one of these things. Has to end sometime, and I'm glad I got to go out on my own terms.
You wouldn't go for Cork City tomorrow night, like, or
well, if they ask me, they never ask me, but they're doing all right. They're doing all right without any old fogies like me. So it's
if they're stuck, they might give you a show next season.
It's good to see them getting promoted. I'm so happy they're back in the big league, and I hope they're there for a long time more.
Well, Ryan, thanks a million for coming in. It's been fantastic to go over your career, and in particular, I suppose it's brilliant for a local lad to kind of play all over the world, and in particular to see someone shining in Australia as well over those years as well. It's fantastic.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, what a career he had, didn't he? Like,
unreal.
Like, so many different clubs. You forget all the different clubs. He mentioned so many, like
so many different experiences and cultures. And what I liked about him was he was never afraid to want to go play in Brunei or whatever it was. No bother. Do you know what I mean?
He loved challenging himself.
Yeah, and he liked being over in Asia and the Middle East, wherever, that side of the world, which is brilliant. Like, that's how I suppose you maximise the opportunities that are available to you. Like, you just say yes.
And isn't it amazing? And this has happened a few times. We talked to a couple of lads this year, how some managers will like you and other managers don't take to you, and all of a sudden your career ends up going in different directions.
It's mad. You
get brought into some clubs, you get kind of let go by other clubs because if one manager doesn't like you, a different manager, you know what I mean? So
You're not a him person or whatever. Yeah,
like I mean that obviously, you know, like the Fulham thing. He was about to join Fulham, and then Roy Keane stepped in, and Sunderland bought him. And actually, Roy was at the match the other night, Roy Keane, and I spoke to him briefly at the match, and I mentioned that we had talked to Roy O'Donovan, and he was asking how he was and stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I said he's good. He said, is he back in Cork? And I said, no, he's going back to Australia. And he said, he said, Roy was a great player. He said, I said he spoke about the time at the club with you, with Sunderland. And he said, yeah. He says, I always remember Fulham were after doing a deal. And he says, we stepped in, we were over here for a friendly. So Roy backed up everything that Roy O'Donovan had said. And then, and I said to him that you put him out on loan for a bit, but by the time he came back, you were gone. And he said that's the worst thing. He said Brooksy mustn't have taken to him or whatever.
Yeah.
And just like that, if Roy stayed in the club, you wouldn't know. Roy O'Donovan could have gotten another run and
could have been in the Premier League. Could have went on and stayed in England.
And he's what he said. He said, I never forget. He said, there's one moment. Roy Keane said this to me. He said, Roy was playing against Chelsea. It was on Sky Sports. And Roy went in, and he says he was so close to getting a goal. He came on as a sub, and he said if he had got that goal, he said, I think it would have changed everything.
Yeah.
For his Sunderland career, because the fans would have bought into him fairly fast.
Yeah.
He said it was
mad,
like,
isn't it?
So he said football is like that.
There's just this mad domino effect.
Yeah.
You know,
So
one thing can change.
It was handy that I spoke to Roy O'Donovan the day before, so I had something to talk to him about. But anyway.
Unreal.
Yeah, you never know
Unreal.
who you might meet at the grass. But so there was plenty of people taking pictures of Roy Keane the other night. But
I'm sure he was delighted, yeah.
he was like, feck off.
I'd say he loved it,
Yeah, although he stayed up. In fairness, no, he stayed up, and I'd say he didn't want to go down for a cup of tea or anything. He says because he'd be annoyed.
He'd be harassed going down the steps.
But,
I'd say,
yeah. No, he remembered this time with Roy, and like what a player Roy was in that second season. I think for City, obviously they won the league, but the following year he was like an unbelievable finisher. I think up until Shawnee came back, he was joined with Shawnee on the all-time score. Now Shawnee's gone ahead of him because, but
he got another
he only played like 2 or 3 seasons.
It's mad, yeah.
So
I'll be honest, I vaguely remember him as a Cork City player. I don't remember him, that was, I think he left 2007, was it?
He left it, because I came to the club at the end of 2007. He was sold that summer beforehand.
Okay.
And so it's
I've seen clips like that stuff, but I don't remember him. Now, don't get me wrong. I watched. Remember they used to have the A-League on BT Sports there on Sunday morning. Remember specifically when he was at Central Coast Mariners, they were on TV nearly every week. So I remember him there. I just don't remember him at Cork City.
But no, it was great to have him on there, and isn't it cool that he's actually is full time now out on television?
It's brilliant for him. Yeah,
Australia.
I was actually chatting to him about that beforehand and about the whole social media side of stuff, and just the whole thing that it's still in the football world, but it's a different world. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. But again, another thing that a lot of players, you'd imagine a lot of players when they retire get offered opportunities like that, and they say no. And Roy's just like, yeah, no problem, I'll do it.
Yeah. No.
One thing as well, he never lost the Cork accent.
He didn't. It's amazing.
It seems to have gotten stronger. It's like the strongest Cork accent ever, which is even better.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That whole thing with Bruno or whatever as well with himself and Joe Campbell all up with George O'Callaghan. There's a podcast and that alone.
There is. We must try and get Campbell on actually. Campbell would be great to have on.
Yeah. So there's fascinating how they all end up, and a whole load of them end up Hartlepool together as well actually. So Dennis Bean and all was
and
there.
Jeff Stelling on Soccer Saturday. They're getting the extra coverage because Jeff Stelling was on it. Yeah.
There's great stories so it's amazing the careers these guys have had.
It's mad, yeah.
I actually, I enjoy talking to them about just, because sometimes they lead the club and we get little snippets of what they do afterwards, but we don't get the full story. And
you don't follow it. If you don't follow the club, you're not going to follow it.
You lose track of where people are, to be honest, half the time. Unless somebody documents it. It's a bit easier now with social and stuff, but 10 years ago or so or more, it would have been difficult to kind of keep track of it.
The odd article in a newspaper or something,
So, no, it was brilliant to have him in. I think fans will enjoy that episode, or that interview in particular with him,
Oh, no, it was really good. It's my favourite part as well of being here when they're being done, it's almost like, you know, I get the advanced screening. I
Yeah.
get to sit back here, listen to
Listen
everything.
to it, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No,
I love it.
I often would listen back to it because you'd miss it. You'd miss things, especially for things. I just know when we're back chatting about it again in the future, because you're kind of near. It's like a nearly jigsaw puzzle with all the guests, because some of their careers overlap and they play in the same teams together, and you know what I mean.
You'd forget who was
you'd
with
forget
who,
was
or
with
who was where. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I forgot actually that Pat Dolan brought him in, but he kind of clarified that Pat Dolan basically was gone by the time he started playing. You know what I mean? It was Damien really was the man that gave him his goal.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Pat Dolan was still there. I thought Pat was already gone by the time Roy came in. So, so the great stories. But, so we have no matches to look forward to this week, really. do
Not
we?
really, just the the academy teams are
The
still
academy
going,
team.
but just the Premier Division, we've got the two. We actually had a couple of DMs in on Instagram, asking who we thought who would win it. So
You'd
I don't know who
fancy
you're.
probably Shelburne at this stage, I'd say. But
Probably, if it goes down to the last day, I know there's a scenario where Shells can win it this weekend. I think if it goes to the last day, I'd back Derry.
yeah.
Full Brandywell, you'd have to back Derry. I'd like to see Derry win it.
I'd like to see Derry win it too.
Derry are one of the clubs I don't think we don't really have a rivalry with. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah. No offence to Rovers, but you don't want to see Rovers win again. Like,
no, I don't want to see. Yeah,
that's 5 in a row.
to be honest, I don't want to see anyone other than Derry win
Yeah,
it.
it's like,
Really.
gee, like,
But 5 in a row is just
no,
4 in a
fair
row
play
is
to
too many.
Rovers. They had a good win in the north against
Brilliant,
Lar.
yesterday, yeah.
Like, it's weird. I
Josh
like
Onahan with
seeing
first
the Irish
goal.
teams win, because it's good for the coefficient anyway, if nothing else. So it's the one time you'd nearly kind of be rooting for all those teams when they're in Europe. And maybe that's just me, but I always think if there's a tide, it raises the whole lot of us, and hopefully the money gets distributed around the league. But
That's the thing. My League of Ireland head is like, yeah, it's great to see them do well. My Cork City head is,
I know.
no. I don't want anyone
See,
to
like,
do well other than Cork City.
they got 400 grand for winning that game.
Mad, isn't it?
Like, that's crazy. Like,
Nice for
when you
some.
think of it.
Yeah.
And like they have a good chance. So they're playing a Welsh team next.
TNS, yeah. If they win that, that's
Jeez, they could be into the playoffs. Like.
yeah. I think they're 6th in the or 8th or
You
something
know?
like that. I don't understand still, to be honest, how this group phase,
I
league
don't know,
phase, whatever
there's
it's called,
there's
works.
so many matches. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, but speaking of stuff going on, we do have the comedy night next week.
Yeah, 1 week to go. That'll be good fun.
Yeah,
It's
tickets still on sale for it.
yeah, they're still going. Yeah, €35. It's at the Everyman next Thursday, 31st of October, 8 p.m.
Yeah,
It's going to be a great crack. I was only talking to Andrew Ryan today ahead of it. They're all excited for it. I think everyone who has their tickets is excited for it.
yeah,
So that'll be great fun.
and that'll be followed by our special 40th celebration.
In the
So
Clayton, yeah.
Well, we were saying we were given the exclusive last week, but obviously it went out before our podcast went out.
yeah. Again, the busy weekend. But anyway, yeah, if you did miss that, it's on the 16th of November
Yeah.
in the Clayton.
Should be a good night.
It'll be good fun. The Frank and Walters are going to be there. There's going to be a DJ after them. We're going to have the
There's awards as well, isn't there?
Player of the Year, Player of the Season awards and stuff like that. And we'll hopefully have our winners there, and we can do a couple of interviews on stage and stuff with them. So that'll be a good night. €99 a head for tickets. ccfc.ie/40th if you want to get your tickets for that.
One thing that we forgot to mention at the start with all the hype over the week, because we kind of touched on it last week. Yeah, a lot of people after re-signing for the club in the last couple of days.
Busy couple of days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice little squad coming together.
Yeah.
Now we've had, I think since we
Charlie
last
and
spoke,
Darren.
it's probably been
Matthew.
everyone. Yeah. So Dara Crowley's been announced, Matthew Kiernan, Charlie Lyons,
Oh,
Greg
Greg.
Bulger,
Yeah.
which is a massive one.
Yeah,
Obviously Shawnee and Keating signed mid-season on multi-year deals.
yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head now who else is signed up, but it's nice little early business being done.
Yeah, so Sean Murray was signed up as well, so we have a few.
One of the bits as well, I didn't see many people talk about it, was in the article about Greg and his re-signing. He's actually, he's signing as a player, but he's going to kind of be working on the coaching side of things
Was
as
he?
well. Kind of similar, I suppose, to remember the last couple of years when Mark McNulty was here
That's right, yeah.
and he was goalkeeping coach and obviously playing as well. But Greg was coaching this year a bit with our under-17s, so kind of remember when we had him on the pod here, he spoke about how he wanted to be coaching and to dip his toe into that. And he's going to be, now again, he's a player. He signed as a player who will also be helping out on the coaching staff side of things.
Ah, that's good. And his experience will help the younger players, because we do have a lot of young players.
That's the
as
thing.
well.
Remember, like, you see it on the pitch every week. The younger players look up to him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cian Coleman is the captain, But Greg's almost like another captain who doesn't need the armband just because he's the experienced head who's been there, done that.
They listen to him.
Everyone listens to him, and he sort of like Greg's won so much, and is that kind of player. If Greg tells you to do something, you're going to do it. Like so,
Yeah.
Brilliant to get him signed up.
It was great to have him signed up, and I'm sure there'll be another couple of announcements in the next while.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
I know nothing, but hopefully.
Yeah, and I suppose we won't probably sign any brand new players until the Premier Division season is over. Like you'd imagine.
Oh yeah, you'd imagine that's the way that's going
because
to
they're
go.
all on the contract till their season is up anyway. So and I see some of the players are gone on holidays already anyway, so they're out to
If you were gone, yeah. Greg's away actually, so that's what you might have noticed. The pictures we used of Greg were from everyone's been in the new gear, whereas Greg's was an old picture because he's gone. He's
He
away.
must have been very confident earlier in the season that we weren't going to be in a playoff.
I know, yeah. Booked that holiday, gone. Yeah, sorry lads, you're in the playoff. Go on, look, I'm gone.
Whoops.
You'll be grand without me. Yeah, but no, that was all good. Did you see as well? Actually, there's been a bit of discourse online because we haven't. I don't think we'd anyone announced by the time we recorded last week's pod, but the reaction to the training jersey that players have been wearing.
Yeah.
And I think I saw Rory O'Hagan wearing a jacket.
I said to Rory, where'd you get that? Yeah, I said it. I thought it was lovely. I said, do we get one of them for the podcast now? What?
Tell you what, I take my eye off things for 2 minutes and everyone's wearing everything, and Rory and Philip Long running around on the pitch in new gear.
No, it looked very nice.
Decent reaction online as well.
Yeah.
Which is positive.
But those tops that the lads are wearing, those pictures, that's a training kit, I presume.
Oh, that's a training jersey.
It's not a jersey.
Oh no, we'd never reveal.
Confuse people, like
we'd never reveal.
Yeah.
Like an actual match kit like that.
I was thinking that, like, plus it wouldn't be typical colours of the club either, like.
No, that's the player's training jersey.
So all the other stuff will be unveiled, like, will be.
They will soon.
Soon we'll have
soon.
Big splash somewhere or big kind of event or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We don't want to give away too much.
We get Rory to sing a few songs of it because I saw it, like, as in
everyone in Cork had a story up of that. On
I see again. He was
Friday,
singing his uncle's song the other night again.
Yeah, he seems to get roped into that a bit, all right, doesn't he?
He'll have to get his uncle down to sing a few songs.
We get him on the pod.
Get him down. We'll have a karaoke session.
We do like a halftime show there at the opening game next season.
No, well, look, we'll be getting a couple of people in, and some of the players, if they're floating around, that know they're not in training and stuff like that. If they're
no excuses now, everyone.
So we'll be trying to get some people that.
Oh, Howie, I'm in training until. There's no excuses now.
So we will try and fill the gap over the off season with a couple of players. But no, it was great to have Ryan O'Donovan in this week, and people like that when they come home like that. It's like when we had Jacob Ryan in the summer, we managed to
try and catch someone while they're here.
Just before he went back to Leon, before he went to Everton, and we might have a few other lads like that this year. You know what I mean? So
we'll try and catch anyone and everyone,
yeah.
Anyone that has a story to tell, we'll gladly take them in.
No, because there's so many people with a unique story anyway to Cork City. Like we kind of need to tap into that. And,
and I suppose as we're in the off season now, we've got that bit more freedom about what to talk about.
Yeah.
If you do have any suggestions that you want to send in to us, be it guests, topics, whatever you want to see covered, let us know, and we'll do our best to deliver.
Yeah, so we'll probably be back next week. We'll be talking about something.
Oh, sure, it's the League of Ireland. It's Cork City. There's going to be something to talk about.
We'll have Damien Duff on about Shelbourne.
People are like, there's 4 months without football. Oh, we'll have plenty to talk about. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, we'll have plenty of stuff to
Someone
talk
will
about.
do something, yeah.
No, there's always something because, again, with maybe, new signings, kits, comedy nights, anniversary nights, there's so many things happening in the next couple of weeks, and we already had Danny in to talk about the recap, so at some stage we'll have Tim in as well.
Tim's on his holidays now. We need to catch him when he's back.
We'll catch him as well, like when he's back.
Yeah, no, we do. We've a lot to do, and as you said, there's other stuff going to be happening as we're coming into Christmas as well. There's going to be a lot coming up, so
and here is where we can kind of delve into the announcements a bit more, and we look forward to doing it.
Yeah.
So we better leave it at that because we're only waffling on at this stage, I think.
That's all we ever do anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, so talk to you next week, guys.
See you next week.